Two women, two continents, two stories whispered in the shadows of history. One, a mystic in war-torn Europe, said to channel voices from the stars. Secrets that could have changed the fate of nations. The other, a siren of the Amazon, her voice enchanting the elite, until rumors of blood and immortality stained her legacy. Maria Orsic vanished without a trace in 1945. Camille Montfort was buried in 1896, or so they say. But what if the truth isn't that simple? What if the past still echoes with their footsteps, or something darker? Maybe demons do exist.
You are now entering the realm of the freaky deaky. An unsuspecting stop at the crossroads of fantasy and reality, where the frayed edges of make-believe seep into this cookie-cutter white picket world you've been led to believe is far from extraordinary. What you're about to hear are true stories.
Alleged true stories.
Christian, just... okay? Tales of the strange and inexplicable thought only to exist in film and folklore. Although difficult to accept, we do not know everything about this reality. About time or space, what lies beneath the ocean's depths. And try though we might, the unchanging truth remains. There are some things we legitimately cannot explain logically.
Folks, welcome back to the Freaky Deaky. My name is Scott, and I am joined by America's wettest blanket, my father-in-law, Christian. How are you doing today, Christian?
I am doing well, considering I'm covered with a blanket that is not wet. And for those of you guys that think it's summer, we're in Alaska. Or just today, or it might have been yesterday, a dump truck went through the ice.
Wow.
Out on Big Lake.
Doxing us on the timetable for sure. So that was 6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
But it's fine, honestly. You know, at this very moment, I may be in California. I don't know when this comes out, but
I may not be here either.
I may be hating every second of my life in California.
What if I show up there?
That's just one more reason. No, it's fine. I'm sure I'll get over it at some point. Probably after it's done and I return a hollow shell of the man that I once was when I left. That's fine. I've been a hollow shell of a man for a while. You guys aren't here for that. Welcome back to the show. Christian is talking about a vampire or something. I'm going to try to pay attention as I take a couple of rips from the old Panaroonie, and we'll see where we end up on the other side. But for now, you guys can help support the show if you're a fan of this show and you want to see us doing this for many, many moons. Please consider supporting the show any way you can, whether that be sharing it with your friends and family on social media, whether that be buying merch at thefreakydeaky.com, or simply donating to the show at thefreakydeaky.com, like producer Eric. He's a real G.
I would say he's real E.
He is technically a real E as well, yes.
Not that kind of E.
Eric, I hope we're doing you proud. He pops up every once in a while in the comments. Every once in a while.
Nice.
That's what you want from a producer. Someone's like, do your thing, boys. And then pops in to let you know that, hey, I'm still around.
I'm watching you.
And we're glad you're still around, Eric. Please comment on this episode to let me know that you're still with us. Anyway, that's enough of that. I believe I've covered everything. Visit holler.baby/thefreakydeaky to get a shout out on the show. For as little as $9, you can make Christian say just about anything. And it is, I promise you, going to be wildly entertaining when those start coming in. Again, we are 8 weeks in the future. So, or in the past, I guess. So it'll be a bit, but believe you me, it's going to be great. Anyway, Christian, over to you with sports.
Today, the LA Kings are off.
That is true. Nothing exciting. Except for Ovi. By this point, Ovi's probably broken Gretzky's record.
A record they said would never be broken.
Yeah, well, they don't see the determination in that Russian's eyes, all right?
You know who scores more goals per game than Ovi? Austin Matthews. So it may be broken again someday.
Well, there you go. Isn't that great?
So anyway, today we're going to be talking about some internet legends. Two women that kept popping up in front of my face. So
yeah.
We're going to delve into it a little bit. Got kind of a dramatic telling of the events, and you guys can tell me what you think of it after we're done. I know Scott will.
I will do my best.
Ignore the giggling if it happens.
See, that one was much better than the one in the last episode. In the last episode was an old lady cackling.
Yeah.
Not great.
We're going to start with the woman who vanished with the stars. And it's the unsolved mystery of Maria Orsic. It's a bitter winter. Oh,
A bitter winter.
It's a bitter winter. It's a bitter winter evening in Munich, 1917. The world outside is tearing itself apart in the Great War, but inside a cramped attic, a young woman sits motionless, her breath fogging in the candlelight. Maria Orsic, 22 years old, with piercing blue eyes and hair so long it spills over her chair. She grips a pencil that moves as if possessed. She's not alone, not really. A voice, soft, insistent, otherworldly, whispers inside her skull. It's been coming to her for weeks, claiming to hail from Aldebaran, a star 65 light years away. She scribbles furiously, strange symbols, half Sumerian, half Templar, and blueprints for something impossible, a machine to defy gravity itself. But was it a message from the cosmos? By 1919, Maria's visions have drawn others to her. Women with names like Trauta, Sigrun, Gudrun, Penis, each with hair as long and golden as hers, each convinced they're tuning into a galactic frequency. They call themselves the Vril Maidens. There might be a couple German words in here. There's one coming up.
Your favorite.
Yeah, some of them are hard, though. So basically, the Vril Society, after a mystical energy Maria swears is real. In a hidden Munich flat, they gather under flickering gaslight. Their seances, a mix of prayer and science. Maria speaks of tall, radiant beings from Aldebaran, their golden eyes promising a new dawn for humanity. She says they've sent plans for I'm going to try this maybe a couple times. Genzeitflugmaschine.
A Genzeitflugmaschine?
Genzeitflugmaschine, an otherworld flight machine, a saucer-shaped craft that could pierce the heavens.
Can you say that last sentence again? It sounded a little Connery.
Yeah.
A saucer-shaped. It was a saucer-shaped.
A saucer-shaped craft that could pierce the heavens. The women sketch it obsessively, a sleek disc, its engines pulsing with Vril, a force they claim flows through the universe. Maria insists their hair, never cut, worn like shimmering antenna, channels the alien words, but whispers in Munich's occult underworld hint at skepticism. Was this a genuine contact or a delusion fueled by war's despair? The blueprints grow detailed, too detailed, some say, for a mere medium's imagination. Maria needs help to build it, and that's when the shadows start closing in. So Maria turns to the Thule Society. You've heard of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
Rich, secretive men obsessed with ancient myths and German destiny. They're intrigued by her machine, but their interest isn't cosmic, it's conquest. She resists their pull, her voice echoing in smoky rooms. This isn't for war, it's for the stars. She takes their money and their engineers, knowing she can't do it alone. By the 1930s, the Nazis take notice. The SS, cold, relentless, see her craft as a weapon, a Wunderwaffe, to win the faltering war.
Wunderbar.
Rumors swirl in secret test, a glowing disc lifting off near Orado, Brandenburg in 1943, vanishing into the night sky. Witnesses, few and frightened, call it the Vril 7, but Maria fades from the story, sidelined by men in black who twist her vision into something sinister. I think the men in black is kind of a little bit of a reach there, but like maybe they were wearing black suits.
Yeah, a lot of men wear black.
What if they were your men in black before they came to America?
Well, you never really know with this type of stuff, Christian.
Yeah. Amid the chaos, one detail haunts her followers. The number 33.33. It's etched in her notes, muttered in her sleep, a code, a signal, a countdown. No one knows what it means. Not then, and maybe not ever.
Well, that's kind of a bummer.
Yeah.
The people come here for information, Christian.
Well,
what does it mean?
Sometimes the people have to give us their opinion on what that means, because I think that number is significant. I don't have it at the, I don't remember what 3 necessarily means right off the top of my head. And what that many 3s.
We know that 1 is the loneliest number, but that doesn't feel relevant.
And 7, 8, 9. That's all I know.
There you go.
So we're in March 1945. Berlin is a skeleton of itself, crumbling under bombs. Maria, now a spectral figure, gathers her Vril Maidens in a bunker beneath the city. The air is thick with damp and dread. Before them gleams the Genzeitflugmaschine, polished unearthly, its hull catching the lantern light like a mirror. She's burned the plans, the secrets locked in her mind. We're going home, she says, her voice steady as her women step aboard. The craft hums, then roars, the walls shake, then nothing. Silence swallows the bunker when the smoke clears. Maria, the maidens, and the machine are gone. Maria Orsic's fate is a riddle wrapped in shadows. Some say she was a prophet chosen by aliens to bridge worlds. Others call her a myth, a tale spun from the Third Reich's occultism and post-war fantasy. The number 33.33 lingers in conspiracy circles, unexplained, uncracked. No records prove she lived, no evidence confirms she died, yet her story persists, a ghostly thread in a tapestry of the unknown. Was she a visionary hearing the stars, or a woman lost to her own dreams? Did the Gensight Flug machine fly, or was it all a lie?
Wow. Nursery rhymes.
What do you think? I mean, a lot of this is stuff we've somewhat heard before.
Yes, to an extent.
Yeah. And Maria Orsic, when you see an image of her, she is the perfect blonde for that time period in that part of the world, if you know what I mean.
She got it going on.
She was, and here's the thing, the disappearance is kind of dramatic. We don't know that she got in this craft that aliens told her how to build.
Yeah.
But as the story goes, she did disappear near the end of the war. And she wasn't captured. They didn't find her body. Nobody else that was captured knew what happened to her.
And the aliens told her how to build this craft, huh?
That's how the story goes. She received these messages from 65 light years away. It formed the Vril Society, eventually connected with the Thule Society, which is kind of infamous now because of their connections to the Third Reich. Just one of those groups that was around at the turn of the century and made it to about the middle of the century that was into the occult or a different way of looking at the world.
That's one way to phrase it, yes.
Now, some people believe that this character might be fabricated.
Why is that?
Born from the 1960s occult revival and UFO craze, blending with real esoteric groups like the Thule Society with sci-fi fantasy.
Is there any evidence to back that up?
The biggest evidence is that you can't really find her in the Third Reich's records, and they were meticulous record keepers. But also, she was a woman in a men's club.
Yeah. So they're probably like, these old things? No, it's fine.
Yeah.
Leave it off the papers.
Thank you, dear. Can you go get us some coffee while the men discuss?
Your papers.
Heard a lot about the Vril Society, but
yeah, I've heard it in passing. I don't know much about it.
Their existence is dubious, so it's hard to tell.
Gotcha.
But there were a lot of groups back then, so you can't just say because there's no records left that those groups didn't exist, because there were a lot of people running around trying to find the meaning of life in these different esoteric ways, or what a lot of people would call occult ways.
Isn't the meaning of life 42?
I don't know, man.
Or did I get that number wrong? It's been a while. It's been a while. I take it you've never seen or read Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy.
Not yet.
You should.
I know I should.
You should.
I found it fascinating that these ladies of the Vril kept their hair long because they were considered antennas.
Yeah.
To bring in the alien conversations.
Maybe it's Maybeline. Maybe she's contacting alien races 60-something light years away.
65 light years away. You know, there's other people think that maybe it's the war, the terror of the war that made her say she was doing this stuff. But she, from my understanding, she was part of the Vril Society way, back near World War I.
Yeah.
Or starting around that time.
Sure.
That was before the Third Reich started coming into power. For, we had the brown shirts or whatever. So I don't know.
A little racist, but all right.
I do like this story. I think there's a lot of missing stories like this from Germany, as we know, because we've heard about their different times. They searched for different occult objects, or they were looking for the Ark of the Covenant or the Sphere of Destiny, stuff like that.
Aren't they doing that now? Isn't there? Did you see a story recently saying that's like some?
Well, yeah, now recently, like weeks ago, but yeah. I'm looking into it.
Yeah, but that story pops up every once in a while too. But I the most recent one I think was like guarded by some tribe or something like that, and people die outside of it occasionally. The eyes go white. It's kind of weird stuff.
I've been hearing about it it being in Ethiopia. I've heard
That's the one
that for like
thinking.
30 years.
Yeah. Weird,
So,
right?
It is weird.
Wouldn't
But
that
also,
be nuts if they just dug that up? Like, oh my God.
I think the Ethiopian church is one of the oldest in the world.
Yeah, it is.
I mean, it goes back to the origins of the Christian church.
Mm-hmm. That's why when people are like, Christianity is a white man's religion, I'm like, bro, you have no idea. Zero idea.
I mean, I think Judaism was around in Ethiopia back. I mean, that whole part of Africa had a lot of connections that we didn't really learn about until recently. Even though I think people knew about it, it was kind of, the interpretations were different back in the day when people could think differently about the so-called savages that,
Didn't hear anything after you said the word Africa because I was reminded of Toto.
Sorry.
Is that going to take over? No, that can't replace Creed. Like, it just can't. Creed is too meme-worthy. Toto in Africa,
Nobody even knows.
Kind of deal. Everyone knows that song, Christian. Everyone loves it, even if it's secretly. Or whatever.
Another thing with her disappearance, there were famous people in the Third Reich who disappeared at that same time.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always been rumors that Hitler got away.
That popped up again recently as well.
Yeah, I don't believe that one, but
Why don't you? Wasn't it like released by the president of Argentina? And I'm not saying just because a president releases information, you should be like, oh, that's true. But I'm saying, like, in this case, I don't know. Something about it. Because all the stories, all the people that still live there.
It was basically the president of Argentina that let all the people from Germany, in the Third Reich live there after
so
the war.
This president's trying to make it right. He's like, you know what? No, we did do that. And Hitler was here.
He was so unhealthy. Even if he did, he wouldn't have made it that long.
Well, he said he only lived like another 2 decades or something. Passed away in I can't remember. But he came out and I was like, everyone kind of already thought that though, right?
A lot of people did.
Yeah.
I used to. I don't believe it anymore.
Christian, you got to get some liveliness back into you. You got to get yourself pumped about some weird stuff again. Just start believing in weird things again.
But if you do go down to visit in Argentina, you can go to certain towns where everybody speaks Germans, and some houses, they have the medals that their forefathers won in World War II or serving.
Where they were the heroes, probably.
Well, they got medals. So they did something military-wise that deserved a medal, and then they went to Argentina to live out their days, and those families still have some of those medals and pictures in the same house with the whole regalia.
Isn't it kind of weird to think that everyone that's in a war thinks they're on the good side?
I mean, you kind of
Isn't that strange, though? That's so weird. Perspective, everyone, all right? Zoom out a little bit.
Well, it's very dangerous when you don't think that way.
Exactly. I'm just saying it's weird, like, because everyone's like, no, we're the good guys. These are the monsters we're killing.
Yeah, when we don't think that way, we end up in the 60s again, where everybody hates everybody and bad things happen.
Yeah, it kind of feels like we might be living in that right now, Christian, but it's fine.
But going back to Maria Orsic.
That's a great transition. Let's go back there.
She likely died in the war or fled anonymously, perhaps to South America.
Well, would you look at that?
Now, one of the other things that I can't stand by that were mentioned in this story is that she fled to the Antarctic base.
Hell yeah.
Which we know never existed.
Where my boy Admiral Byrd at?
Well, they would just, if you're not familiar with that story, we did a show on it.
I think it was season 3, episode 1 and 2.
What the hell? Good memory.
I think that's when Ethan was out here because he did Hollow Earth with us.
Okay.
So weird. I'll just bring random friends onto the show. It's like not like people have guests and everything on their podcast, but like special guest today is a renowned doctor who has 15 books under his belt. I mean, I'm just like, this is the dude that I grew up with. His name's Ethan.
I brought a friend on here. I brought 2 friends on.
You did. You have. Heather brought a friend on here. I still wish Amanda would come back. Amanda, if you're out there, hear my thoughts.
Is there anything else you want to talk about with that episode?
Was that the end of it?
As far as the story goes.
Oh. Well, what about didn't you say something about like a musician?
Yeah, I got that part next.
Oh.
Did I say episode? I meant that story.
Yeah. No, I was like, damn, dude, it's over already? I was like, you were talking about musicians, all this stuff. I don't know, man. It's hard. Like, stuff, when you go that far back, who knows? Like, if the records aren't there, it's like, well, there's nothing else you can kind of look into it. It sounds cool.
Well, they were talking about how the Nazis kept meticulous records. But when it came to the wonder weapons, those records aren't as meticulous or as shared with the public as we would like.
Mm-hmm.
You know,
You think they still have those records, though, right? You think
somebody does.
The U.S. has them? You think our government has them?
Well, if there's records that exist, the U.S. and Russia and Britain and maybe France has them.
I gotta say, they were doing some weird stuff out there, and I would love more information on that.
Yeah, because the U.S. and Russia basically took all the scientists that they captured from there, and Britain was involved. I think some scientists went to Britain too, but Britain helped America with interviewing them. And
man, we talked about Operation Paperclip and stuff. So
if let's just say Maria Orsic is a real person,
let's just say it. Let's throw it out there.
The fact that she was never found and she disappeared, maybe she disappeared into the United States Project Paperclip or the equivalent of Russians' program.
Project Potato.
But if it was in Russia, we probably would have heard about it because a lot of those people we eventually heard about.
Project Vodka.
And I think Russia released a lot of those scientists eventually, and they went back to live out their lives in Germany.
That sounds about right.
They finished, once the Russians were done with them, or the Soviets at the time. She could have been working with either one of our parents or at the same company as either one of our dads.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
Was she working with our dads? No, that's pretty wild.
Military-industrial complex.
Yeah, you think it's ever going to be dismantled, or you think it's always going to be in power?
I think it would be ridiculous to dismantle it.
No, not dismantle in that way, but like, the warning they gave everyone.
I think it's a problem because, and I think if you look back at, say, World War I or World War II, and there's probably a couple wars, even in the 1800s, where you find out that rich people actually want the war to happen.
Yeah.
So
it's pretty dicey when you get down to the nitty gritty of it,
Yeah, and when it comes to like investing in defense companies, you make more money if you use that stuff.
Hey, Christian, I get triggered anytime you say investing right now. So
trust me,
I have
me too.
War flashbacks myself. So
hey, man, I'm living it too.
Yep, we are in this together.
All right, now we're going to move on to the Enigma of Camille Montfort, the Amazon vampire.
Oh yeah, how tall was she?
I don't know, but I'm going to provide you with a couple pictures that I would. That we should put on the thumbnails if you can.
Why? Because a bunch of horny guys are going to be like, oh, yeah, what's this about?
Yeah.
What's this all about?
Well,
that would be the Canadian guys.
Let me see. I'm going to send you Camille's picture right now.
Okay. I am awaiting the picture. For our listeners at home, the picture has arrived and I am opening the picture. That is a hairdo. That certainly is a hairdo. She looks like someone I talked to in 2003.
Yeah. As far as I'm concerned, this may not be her. This is the image attached to this person.
This is not AI?
No, this is an older image, I think. A few years old before.
Her hand looks kind of weird down. Well, I guess it's the lighting.
I mean, it could be.
Yeah, for me, if I see fuzziness and then for whatever reason her eyes and her face are clearer than the rest of the image, I don't necessarily believe it. So it could be altered in some way, but I don't know. It could just be a weird image too.
Yeah, but you can see why people are like, let's read about this girl.
Oh, who is this fine lady?
Yeah. So in the sultry, rain-drenched city of Belém, Brazil, during the waning days of the 19th century, a woman emerged from the shadows of history, a figure whose beauty and talent were matched only by dark rumors that swirled around her. Her name was Camille Montfort, and to those who knew her story, she was more than a celebrated opera singer. She was the Amazon vampire. To this day, her tale remains one of the most haunting, unsolved mysteries on the Amazonian frontier.
How many haunting, unsolved mysteries are there on the Amazonian frontier?
Well, when you see the size of their spiders and snakes and other things that can kill you, pretty haunting.
Yeah, it does. The size of the spider isn't really the issue.
If it's as big as your head.
The fact that it is a spider is the issue.
Yeah.
Teensy tiny, gigantic.
If a spider is as big as a chihuahua, that is terrifying. If it catches birds, that's too big.
Well, who are you to tell that spider it's too big? Let it catch the birds, Christian. And
if you need a gun to kill the spider, it's too big.
What is this, the movie 8-Legged Freaks now?
If it's that big, yeah. Anyway.
Oh.
So it was 1896, and Belém stood at the peak of the rubber boom. Its streets alive with the clatter of carriages and the murmur of wealth.
Missed opportunity to say the sounds of music, but it's fine.
Sorry. Great movie. The Teatro de Paz, a grand opera house carved from the jungle's edge, drew performers from across the globe. Among them was Camille, a 27-year-old French soprano whose arrival sent ripples through the city's elite. With her porcelain skin, dark curls, and eyes that seemed to hold secrets older than her years, she was a vision of ethereal grace. Born in 1869 to a French diplomat and an aristocratic mother, Camille had come to Brazil as a child, father's posting, planting seeds of a life that would soon veer into the unknown. Her debut at the Teatro de Paz was nothing short of mesmerizing.
Is it not de pas?
De Paz.
De pas? There's a Z there?
Yeah.
De Paz. I feel like we're Americanizing it.
We are, because we're Americans and we can't always say things right.
And where's this at again?
Brazil.
So that Z's not silent? I don't know. Is it much like Spanish? I don't know.
I don't know, man. Now I'm going to be stressed the whole time. Thanks a lot,
okay,
Scott.
Dude. Like the last couple episodes, there's been names where I'm like, there's no way I'm getting this right.
It's no Jingenflug machine.
It is no Jingenflug machine.
As her voice soared through the auditorium, a crystalline thread of sound, the audience fell silent, spellbound. Men gazed in awe. Women whispered behind gloved hands, but beneath the applause, unease began to fester. Young women in the crowd would collapse during her performances, their limp forms carried out into the humid night. Later, some awoke with faint marks on their necks, 2 small punctures, barely visible, yet impossible to ignore.
Vampire.
That's what it sounds like. The city's upper crust dismissed it as nerves or the heat, but the working folk of Belém saw something else. They saw a predator. Camille's life beyond the stage only deepened the mystery. She was often seen alone along the Guajara River, her black gown trailing behind her like a specter under the moon's pale glow.
Oh, yeah.
On rainy nights, she danced barefoot in the streets, her movements wild and unrestrained, defying the rigid decorum of the Victorian age. Whispers followed her, tales of sickness contracted in London years before, a malady that left her pale and nocturnal. Some claimed she had been bitten there, cursed with an insatiable thirst. Others spoke of Francisco Bologna, a wealthy rubber baron who seemed enthralled by her. In his opulent mansion, it was said he bathed her in champagne, their laughter echoing through the halls as servants averted their eyes from the strange rituals unfolding.
Kind of a waste of champagne if you think about it. How much champagne you got to use to bathe someone?
But if you're a rich rubber plantation owner,
I don't know
cares?
the type of money rubber plantation owners make, to be honest with you.
A lot.
It's never been on my radar.
Yeah. Well, rubber plantations were like any other plantation in America.
What plantation are you thinking of, Christian?
Any plantation.
Perhaps cotton?
Cotton, tobacco.
Wacky tobacco?
But you got to remember, this is this is the time period where rubber's starting to get used more often, and cars are right around the corner.
They're right. They don't even know it's about to blow up.
I think some people knew. That's why they were owning these plantations. As the summer of 1896 wore on, Belém's golden age began to crumble. A cholera epidemic swept through the city, claiming lives with ruthless efficiency.
Gotta wet that whistle.
Camille's performances grew erratic, her voice sharper, her presence more commanding. One night, mid-aria, she froze, her gaze fixed on something unseen. She crumbled to the stage, only to reappear the next evening, her pallor stark against the gaslights, her strength unnerving.
Oh.
The faintings increased, the neck marks multiplied, and a local doctor named Eduardo Almeida took notice. A man of science, he was determined to uncover the truth. He trailed her to the riverbank one stormy night, watching as she twirled in the downpour, her laughter cutting through the thunder. When she turned to him, her smile was a blade, and then she was gone, swallowed by the mist. Almeida's obsession led him to a discovery. Convenient. A journal fragment in her dressing room. Creeper. Its pages stained and torn. A single line stood out. The bite was cold, the gift eternal. Convinced she was no mere woman, he prepared to confront her, but fate intervened. Days later, his body was found near the docks, drained of blood, his face frozen in a mask of horror. The official report blamed cholera, but those who saw him whispered otherwise. Then, as suddenly as she had captivated Belém, Camille vanished. Her final performance ended in chaos. The city awoke to the news of her death, another victim of the epidemic, laid to rest in the Cemetery of Solitude. It was said her tomb, a neoclassical marvel shaded by a mango tree, bore a marble bust and a framed image of a woman in black. Yet even in death, the mystery persists. Grave diggers swore they saw her slip away that night, a shadow against the storm. When her tomb was later opened, some say by vandals, others by the curious, no body was found. Decades passed and Camille Montfort faded into legend, but the story refused to die. In 1920, a fisherman claimed to have heard her singing on the river, her voice drawing his boat closer until he fled in terror.
Mermaid.
Siren. In 1985, a tourist photograph near her grave captured a blurry figure, pale, motionless, watching from the trees. Today, some believe she fled to Europe, an ageless wanderer feeding in the shadows. Others insist she remains in the Amazon, a spectral presence tied to the land that both birthed and buried her. She wasn't birthed there, but I guess as a vampire, maybe.
Yeah, that checks out.
The Teatro de Paz still stands. Its walls silent, its stage empty. But on quiet nights, locals say you can hear a faint melody drifting through Belem's streets, a siren's call from a woman who may never truly rest.
I feel her there. I feel her. I, too, may never truly rest.
So, Scott, do you believe in vampires?
I go back and forth on that. I don't think actual vampires, but I think there are ways for people to live a lot longer. What they are, I don't know. I'm not that guy. But
yeah.
That was somewhere in my loins. I feel it in my plums.
Now, looking into the story, the doctor thing is kind of outlandish. That there's no evidence that there was a doctor like that. So, like I said, with this story and Maria Orsic, there's a lot of rumors and legends that are going on, and just wanted to kind of put them together and let everybody hear it and make their own decisions. I don't always believe in a regular blood-sucking vampire.
What?
Psychic vampires are a different subject.
That
I believe
100% real.
Yeah, I love that story about her.
It's
I mean, I love both
interesting.
stories in this episode. But
Yeah.
I want them to be true. Actually, both of them.
But that would mean that vampires are real. Christian, I don't know if you could ever bring yourself to believe such a thing.
But it would be fun.
Well, there you have it. I go back and forth on the vampire thing.
Yeah, I struggle. I don't believe in vampires. I believe that
Some of the stories are crazy, though, right?
Yeah.
Like they're pretty wild. You're like, well, damn, are there vampires? I don't know.
I do believe that some people drink blood and have drank it through the years.
You
and
can go on TLC and see someone drinking blood.
That's true.
Yeah. The self-proclaimed vampires, those are the weirdest ones.
That is pretty
Right?
weird.
Where you know you're going to die, and you're probably going to die sooner because you're drinking someone's blood. You weirdo.
Yeah. I mean, humans are weird. I want somebody to put this in a movie, though, because
The CW has probably already started working on it. Is it still the CW? Who
I
knows?
have no idea.
I thought it was your favorite TV channel, but I guess I remember wrong. Though shout out to Supernatural.
It does make it interesting that she's French,
Mm-hmm.
aristocratic, lived in London, and went to Brazil. And then these things supposedly started happening. I didn't even know they had opera in Brazil back then, but I guess the rich people buying plantations and slaves
Why not?
would
Throw that in
probably
there.
want opera to feel like they had some culture.
Yeah, opera. That's probably the most.
But back in the day, that was the shit. It was in New York, it was in London, it was in, all over Italy. It was all over the place back during the Victorian age.
It's in my kitchen a lot.
Why?
I don't listen to opera, but that is probably one of the things I ad-lib the most. Is just belting opera songs and making up the words as I go.
I do that sometimes too. I don't think I do operatic though.
Oh, I like to mix it up. Sometimes it's Creed, sometimes it's just pretending to sing Italian in a very, I don't even know what I am. Maybe a bass, an alto. I don't remember. But your boy gets it done while washing the dishes when he's alone. And that's something you get to learn about me.
Weirdo.
Something cool, something hip.
I don't know if that's hip.
Definitely not, but that's fine. It's fine, Christian.
Between the two stories, I think we're going to have to venture into these territories again because that part of Brazil and during that time period is fascinating. And eventually we're going to get back to more like stuff like the Vril Society or the Thule Society. And there's plenty of places to delve into these mysteries a little bit further. I don't know where our listeners want us to go first. I mean, we've had some recent suggestions that I think one of them will be coming in the next couple of weeks or so.
Yeah, I know. I've been finding more and more recently of like just random people that I'd never heard of that have crazy life stories. And I'm actually working on, I'm trying to remember what his name was, Daniel Hume or something like that. But I enjoy the single person stories. They just have to flow. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And luckily with that Daniel Hume guy, there's a lot of weird information there. So what were people saying about these ladies?
Well, I know, especially the Camille Montfort. I mean, she just pops up on social media every couple weeks for me.
You got that algorithm.
Yeah, and I'm like...
You've been staring at those pictures a little too long, huh, Christian?
I guess so, but also I follow a lot of weird stuff that that'll drop something like this in there, and it'll just keep repeating on these things.
But does the story change when people are sharing it? Because that would be a big thing. If you see this particular thing on this lady pop up often enough,
it's basically been the same story.
Mm-hmm.
She was in the Amazon back in the day and was rumored to be a vampire, and there was nothing provable other than she acted a little weird, but also that could be just rich and privileged.
Kind of weird
spoiled.
To have, bite marks and necks around town, though. That is a little suspect, no? One
of the things that was pointed out to me when I was like trying to figure out what is fact and not, there were a lot of mosquitoes. A lot of people probably had bites on their neck. And if you get I mean,
come on, man.
What's more likely? A couple mosquitoes bite you on the neck, or you run into a vampire that sings opera in Brazil?
In this particular story, I think the odds of getting mosquito bites in the exact same spot or whatever is equal distance apart for
it doesn't
incisors.
Have to be equal distance. It could just be 2 bites if everybody's fainting and freaking out.
But if one bite is on the left side of your neck and the other is on the right, no one's going to be like, a vampire.
By the time the story gets passed along a couple times, it might be. That's the problem with some of these older stories, is whatever the original thing was, once it gets sensationalized a little bit, it's hard to get back.
Yeah, I suppose you could say that. If you wanted to be a liar.
One of the things that's fascinating is there are illnesses that show like some of her symptoms or supposed symptoms.
Can you remind me of her symptoms?
She had a pale complexion, nocturnal habits. No.
Nocturnal cabinets?
Both those I butchered. She had a pale complexion and nocturnal habits, and a supposed sickness from London aligned with symptoms of a medical condition, possibly tuberculosis or porphyria. Also anemia, which was common. I guess that's what porphyria is, anemia, which was common in the 19th century.
Excuse me, when you're anemic, isn't that like lack of iron in your blood?
Yeah.
So if you're drinking a shit ton of blood, then you should probably not be anemic, right?
Maybe that's the reason you have to drink blood.
Oh, weird.
Mm-hmm.
Weird.
So porphyria in particular causes light sensitivity and pallor, which could explain her nighttime wanderings and frail appearance, being misread as vampirism.
That would be somewhat hilarious, though, if you think about it. You just see this frail person, pale as hell, anemic.
Well, I mean, a lot of people believe that tuberculosis or consumption is what actually pushed the rumors of vampirism around, because the symptoms are very similar.
What is consumption again?
Tuberculosis. That's what they used to cause.
That sounds like a biblical plague.
Well, I think they used it because it basically looked like it was consuming your body.
What?
Like from the inside out. Like you would start bleeding from your mouth and stuff like that in your lungs.
Pretty dark.
Yeah.
Couldn't just say the guy got Bloodlung. Wow. Scott, write that down. What a great name for a disease.
Yeah. So the empty tomb, that's kind of more or less a rumor.
Not the first time I've heard of that being a rumor, Christian.
Yeah. One thing it says, as far as, and this is more of a skeptical point of view, on the cultural context and folklore, the vampire myth fits a pattern of eco-Gothic storytelling in the Amazon. I'm not quite...
A very popular genre, no doubt.
Yeah. Where European fears of wild tropics mixed with local anxieties during the rubber boom's collapse. Camille's tale mirrors Dracula-like archetypes imported and adapted to a new setting rather than reflecting a unique reality.
Boo. Boo. No, we want the vampires. Christian, get back to the actual vampire stuff.
Yeah, I am wrong. Do you have a favorite vampire?
To be honest with you, I never really got into the vampire stuff. That wasn't really me.
I mean, I've liked different vampire things through the years. Some are good, some are not.
I think Twilight came along and just ruined it for me.
Well, that ruined it for
when that craze went off, I was like, I never want to hear about vampires ever again.
Yeah, I'm not ready yet again.
Yeah.
Here's another thing that I was just thinking, and I'm hoping I remember this right. But there's an old short story,
sure,
about a vampire.
Yes.
And it's called Camille. It's a really good story. One of the best vampire stories I've ever read, but it's
no correlation to this story, though.
It's about 100 years old, I think, if I remember right. Let's see if I can.
Where do you find a story like this?
It was in a book of short stories, short, scary stories.
Ooh, look at you.
I used to read a lot of those.
I know.
When I had more time.
What changed, Christian? My logical mind, of course.
No. I mean, recently, the only thing that's changed is I have a grandson.
That's not even recent. That's about 3 years old news at this point.
Yeah, but it gets busier and busier.
That is true, and it's going to get even more busier and busier when the second one pops out.
Yeah.
Christian is currently looking up a vampire story called Camille that he read in a book of short horror stories.
I was a little bit off. It's Carmilla.
Wow, just a little bit off.
Written in 1872 by Sheridan Le Fanu. It's one of the earliest works of vampire fiction, predating Bram Stoker's Dracula by 25 years.
So it turns out vampires might actually be real, huh? We did
Yes.
it. Strange. I don't know, man.
It was a really good story. So at first I was like, maybe that whoever started or whoever's working with this legend of Camille Montfort kind of took some inspiration.
By, perhaps? Yeah, that's weird. I've never heard of that. I've never heard of either of these ladies, to be honest with you.
Yeah, I think I've heard of Maria Orsic years ago.
How do you spell that last name?
Orsic. I'll send you some.
Orsic. Okay. Yeah. I was trying to, the entire episode, I'm like, is it Orset or Orsic?
It's Orsic. I'll send you a little bit more information on it so that you know it.
Indeed.
They were fun stories. Like I said, it's might be myth, legend, but usually that stuff's mixed in with a little bit of truth.
Yeah.
You just can't, it's just so long ago or so, in the case of Orsic going through the, basically the destruction of Germany at that time.
Yeah.
A lot of stuff's going to be lost. And if she did exist, if she existed, I hope she made it to
the other side.
I don't believe she made it 65 light years away in a spaceship that the Nazis created.
She needed one thing, and that was your belief, Christian, and you've killed her.
But who's to say, because we do have Nazi weapons that were said to have worked. The, what was it? Die Glocken?
Yeah, the bell, right?
Yeah. That's what this sounds like in a lot of ways, is she was part of that.
God, I wish there was more information on the bell, to be honest with you. That's why whenever I see that, I'm like, what was that for? What was that about? Why was it about a bell? Was there something about bells?
There's a modern book where they basically, it's by Brad Thor, who's a fiction writer, and he I think it's called the Athena Project, if I remember right. I haven't finished it, but they have a group of special ops personnel, and the Athena Project is basically female special ops.
Oh,
which nobody really knows exist, but
they are strong and capable. Look at that.
But there are rumors that there are pretty good female special op groups that do their special ops are a little different. And these,
I bet they are. Yeah.
Well, because they can go in and do things.
Yeah.
Yeah. That other people won't be able to be like, oh,
sure. There's
a lady in a burqa. She's not dangerous. And then she murders all the terrorists.
Yeah. The female John Wick.
Which is coming out.
There you go. Wait, what?
Yeah.
You mean John Wick 5 is coming out?
There is going to be
another John Wick
spin-off.
Don't say it. There's a female John Wick coming out. Christian, I will lose my shit.
It's
And if it's Queen Latifah, Christian, don't even get me started, all right?
No, it's Ana de Armas, and I think she's either related to him. There's surprise, surprise, I just saw this trailer, and he's in it, so I don't know what it's about. I think it's just a spinoff.
Well, I'm bummed. Can I say that? Can I say that?
We've already had female John Wicks. He killed a couple of them.
Yeah, I understand, but like, why? Okay, look, if you have a fantastic...
Maybe Keanu doesn't want to do anymore.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm saying that if you have a fantastic series, right? Why would you do a spin-off? Like, same with how, The Matrix, they had those 3 great movies, or maybe 2, and one was but I enjoyed all of them, and then they come back and they make the dumbest Matrix of all time.
That's some of
they ruined it.
That's just that's the risk you take.
That is the risk you take.
I mean, Bill and Ted's sequel was not great.
I didn't see it.
I mean, I saw part of it. It was horrible. And I love Keanu.
I love Keanu too.
And I will go see Constantine, whether it's great or not.
Well, he's going to be in that. So, of course, it's going to be great.
He's going to be in this one.
Yeah, but is he going to be in it, or is he going to be 3 minutes in the intro and then it's like, now it's your movie?
I have no clue. I didn't even know this was happening. I just saw a trailer.
I hope that was April Fool's and that, wait, damn it, this is end of May or something. Guys, I don't know what to say anymore. I
think you're worried about something that does not even...
I just hate Hollywood now. I've come to the point where they just recycle shit like constantly, and there's not really great ideas.
Why do they do it?
Because people are dumb. The same reason...
Why do they do it? Because they make money.
Yeah, the same reason Vin Diesel's been saying, we're family for fucking 12 movies or something, right? Like, nobody needs that. We don't need 50...
So they shouldn't make movies?
No, they should actually get good writers, regardless of their beliefs or whatever, and just film the movie.
Which would be nice, but it's a proven fact that people want to see these big box movies and sequels. That's a proven fact.
You get your information from the wrong people. People want artistic integrity. They want creativity.
Someone like you might
feel something.
Someone like me might, but most of us
the ding-dongs
are just regular consumers.
The ding-dong consumers, they shouldn't get 15 Fast and the Furious movies.
Sometimes you're a ding-dong consumer too, just on other... Yeah,
but I'm artsy-fartsy about it, all right? I got levels to me.
That's why you got those 50 bags of coffee with all the pretty bags.
Hell yeah. That's exactly
that makes sense.
Look, when I was a teenager and I was buying like CDs and stuff like that, I would, honest to God, pick up an album cover and be like, beautiful. And I would buy it without ever hearing the band. And half of those bands are my favorite bands.
Well, I'm just sad you didn't live in the record era, where you could go to a record store and find this beautiful purple album with all this art on it by Depeche Mode or Prince or something.
Classic. Yeah.
And too bad I lost all those records in the divorce, but...
I'm going down there. You want me to see if I can pick some up?
She's not the type of person to let them survive.
Not very sentimental?
That part needs to come off the air, please. No, I just
I trust you, Christian. With that, this is a bit of a shorter episode, but it sure was juicy and weird there at the end.
Yeah. If you like these kind of things, let us know. We can add more. There's plenty of stories out there. I've been coming across some of the craziest stories.
True that. Myself included. Thanks, the internet. But we also come to you guys for suggestions. We have received a handful of suggestions recently, which have been pretty great. So we're going to look into that, Christian especially.
I like the one that we just got, where I'm like, I'm already working on that one.
Which one did we just get?
The telepathy tapes.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Right.
I still think that one should be YouTube, though.
We'll see.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe we do both.
It might be worthy of both, because that's...
Sometimes you can tell the same story twice. I did an episode just like last week with The Screaming House, and I also did a short video of it. So it's up to you guys. I don't know if you want to hear about it twice, then cool. More power to you. But
it's very fascinating. I would be up for doing it twice, because it's such a fascinating story.
That checks out. Now, do we have experiments that we get to try telepathically? I think we've tried that before, and it didn't work well at all.
I have a couple thoughts on some experiments. They won't be scientific because we're not scientists and we don't have a lab, but
that is true.
We'll see.
Well, you do seem very fascinated by it, so that is always a good sign.
It is one of the most fascinating things I've ever heard. In all of your life? Yes. Wow. Damn, that's crazy, because I remember telling you about it. So the podcast came out, and then every single person in the world was telling me I need to listen to it. And I'm like, guys, I have zero time to listen to podcasts,
outside of maybe one or two that are like just, friends that I'm like, oh, I like checking them out. So I haven't had a chance to, and I was like, you should check it out and see if it's like worthwhile us doing something. And then since then, every single person in the world is once again messaging us and being like, you guys should check this out or do an episode on this. So I'm very intrigued. And now I almost don't want to hear about it because I just want someone to tell me about it. So I don't want to listen to it myself. I just want to have you explain to me what is going on in that, and I will draw my own conclusions, which will probably blow your minds. Just kidding. They probably won't because I'm the same person. But...
my conclusions might blow some minds.
Oh, you think so?
In this case.
Coming off a little pretentious there.
I believe.
Wow, would you look at that? We did it. It's disappointment. Yeah. So anyway, guys, that's it. Remember to follow us wherever you are on social media. We are also there. You guys can really help us push those numbers up. We'd appreciate it. Share the show, whatever that means to you. If that means sharing on social media because you're broke like us, or if that means supporting the show financially, you can do that at thefreakydeaky.com via the purchase of fresh merch that is on the website, of course. And also you can send them donations or whatever to become a producer of the show. Yes, we are still working on a Patreon. We have episodes, I believe, in the coming weeks that we're actually going to record a few more of those.
So I just got trauma again.
Trauma. It is being built out. Oh, was that from the Incubus episode?
No.
One of the episodes scarred you. I can't remember which.
Did we do the Incubus?
Oh, it was the hand up the ass, right?
Yeah.
Just both hands up his ass, climbing walls and stuff. Pretty crazy. Good stuff if you want to pay money to be a pervert. But outside of that, we will see you guys next week where we're going to be working on something that is complex and mysterious. And you wouldn't understand, mainly because I don't know what it is. So in the meantime, have yourself a fantastic weekend. And we'll see you right back here next week on the Frinkity Dinkity. Goodbye.
Bigfoot is stalking by your window. Dogman is scratching at your door. Ghosties are walking up and down your halls at night. And the Hat Man is coming back for more. Your name is Christian. You love a can of beans. And you're the wettest blanket skeptic this world has ever seen. You're almost always wrong. Quite an impressive street geek. This song has rambled on too long. Welcome to the Freaky Deaky. Your name's Christian. Your name ironically, because the only belief you have can be found in cannabis. You're almost never right, and now you get roasted weekly. This song has rambled on too long. Welcome to the Freaky Deaky. Also, ghosts exist, just an FYI.